The next thing to look at is your exhaust pressure sensor. So what does the exhaust pressure sensor have to do with the operation of your truck? Well, in your truck, there will be I guess you can say, a catalytic converter that has like a honeycomb structure inside of it. And as the exhaust passes through, the idea is that it's supposed to capture some of the soot particles. And as it captures those soot particles, the hope is that it actually burns off those soot particles, and then you end up with clean exhaust being emitted to the environment. Well, many times that doesn't happen. Essentially, we'll call it that honeycomb structure, that we'll call it the post-treatment or catalytic converter, it gets plugged up. So how does the engine management system fix it? Well, it fixes it by doing one or two different things. And again, this is depending upon the make, model year of your truck. In some instances, they'll actually do post-injection fuel injection, where they'll actually squirt a little bit of fuel after the combustion cycle, and it'll put the fuel into the side of the canister, and of course with the hot temperatures it'll light up and it'll do like a self-cleaning oven. It'll clean all that soot off of there and it'll clean up the surfaces. And then as soon as it returns to normal pressures, back pressures that is, turns off this post-injection. Or for that matter, it may actually inject fuel right there at this honeycomb structure, we'll call it again catalytic converter. And again, it's just dumping fuel in there to try to clean everything on up. So depending upon the way you drive, if you're really on it, you're producing a lot of soot, it gets plugged up in there, and of course it has to clean it on out. So you're constantly maybe in this cycle of regen where it actually is trying to clean out that collector. And so that may be a problem. And if you have any sort of like a tuner in there where you've got a smoke switch, well, you're really getting a double whammy, because you're dumping all this soot inside that catalytic converter, and it's always going to be in this mode of trying to clean it on up. So your fuel economy will suffer as a result. So that's a couple of different things about that exhaust pressure transducer. And keep in mind, if you're always in the regen, you could have something abnormal about the combustion process, maybe a dirty injector, or for that matter, maybe the line to your pressure transducer that comes off your exhaust system is plugged, so you may need to clean that one out. Or lastly, your sensor is bad. And if you have any one of those things, you're going to get poor fuel economy. So that may be a thing that you want to look at. And speaking about fuel injectors, if you do have some sort of a fuel issue or fuel injector issue, I mean, you can get any particular type of fuel injector cleaner. This is just one brand. So it might be a good idea to every once in a while put a little detergent or these injector cleaners in your fuel tank, run it on through, and again, any cleanup on any sort of gunk that's in your injectors, and of course your truck will run better. So that's pretty much it, I think, as far as like the engine compartment. There's other things you can do, and I have yet to do this one thing where you can actually have an automatic fan clutch that goes on, again, heavy-duty diesel trucks, and it'll sense the temperature. There's a sensor, I guess, you can plug on into the engine block. It'll sense when the temperature gets hot, and it'll turn on this electric clutch. Again, it's the same device that's using the belt on your system. And it's just engaging magnetically the clutch on the fan to rotate it. Again, you see these sorts of things on heavy-duty diesel trucks. I think one of the brand names is Horton. I think for this particular engine, you can get one. You can get, you can find them on eBay. You can find them other places. I've yet to do anything like that, but I think the reports are that maybe you'll get some improved fuel economy if you go to that type of clutch. If you go to the fan clutch type system or the electrical system, word is that there just isn't enough air movement to cool your truck, especially if you're under load and a hot temperature. That plus you've got the intercooler in front with the radiator. Boy, I don't know if you really want to mess with that, but maybe a Horton type electric clutch for your cooling fan may be one option that you may want to pursue. So I think that pretty much covers everything in the engine area. Oh, I should say one last thing. Increasing the airflow. You see some people do, modifications to the intake system with sanding the ports, making polish. And yeah, that will flow more air, but it won't necessarily give you better fuel economy. It may give you better peak power, but again, I mean, it's just an airflow Many racers do that right now, where they port their heads to get more airflow, but that does not really give you better fuel economy. In fact, in gasoline engines, it actually can hurt your fuel economy. And one other thing I want to just say is that water, where you're taking electrolysis and making hydrogen gas, again, if you do that sort of thing, you do a little searching on the net, you'll find that people have tried to verify whether or not that actually helps improve fuel economy, and pretty much I think the consensus is, or at least any sort of scientific lab testing, it doesn't really help. And I'll put a link in here so you can actually do your own research and come up with your own conclusion. So I think that pretty much covers the engine area, and so we'll move on to the next. One other tip for fuel economy is to upgrade and get yourself a tuner. And with this particular tuner, I have 3 different profiles. I've got an extreme street, a towing, and then like a kind of a lower setting. I can't remember what the name of it is. But if you use the extreme street, it is very peppy, and it drives completely different as compared to the standard engine calibration. So, how much fuel economy improvement did I get with this? I really don't know. That's one issue I can't really tell you, but it is amazing that something like this, you can improve your horsepower by like a factor of 100 and some, and it's the same everything. It's just a different set of electronics. And of course, if you upgraded this, you really need to go with some sort of an exhaust gas temperature sensor, because you can power this thing up, and like I say, it has amazing power with it. So I've got the exhaust temperature probe that's actually wired in with a live wire, and so that tells you if you've got any issues, you're running a little bit hot, and you can back off. And one other thing that I've used too, which is a little bit separate to this, and I guess, I don't know, it's kind of dark here. Now, one other thing that I use to help me kind of gauge how much gas is actually being burned is the boost gauge. And if you can watch the gauge and you're right around 2.5 pounds of boost while you're going down the interstate, you're doing pretty darn good. It's easy to get 5 or 10 pounds of boost going up a hill on this thing. So, but if you watch it, between, of course you want to maintain your speed, but if you can just throttle your foot so that you can try to keep that around 2.5 pounds of boost going down the highway, at least I found that it is a good indicator of how much fuel you're consuming, and as a result, I think you can also get slightly improved fuel economy just because you're monitoring how you're driving the car down the highway. One of the good websites to learn a little bit more on how to make your vehicle a little bit more fuel efficient and more aerodynamic is the EcoModder website. And I'll give you a link to that in just a few moments. But if you look at some of the ways that you can actually improve the aerodynamics of your truck, one of the things that actually is beneficial is the topper, or I should say the tonneau cover. And roughly what they're saying is that maybe you'll get like a 0.5 mile per gallon with the tonneau cover. It in some ways it's a little bit of a bummer to put a tonneau cover on top of your pickup bed, but in other cases it's actually quite nice that you can put whatever it is that you want in there, and you can lock it on up, and it's secure. So there's some pros and cons depending upon how you use the truck. You may or may not want to have one of these things, but the bottom line is that it's at least in theory, it's supposed to make your truck a little bit more fuel efficient because it has less drag. And there's one other type of configuration that is actually tapers from the top of your cab and goes on down. And I'm not so crazy about the looks of it, but if you wanted to, again, probably add like another 0.5 mile per gallon, I guess you could do something along those lines. So, again, I'll put a link to that as well on this. So if you have any other tips for, making your truck more fuel efficient, please feel free to leave a comment. So I think that pretty much covers everything. So thanks for watching.